for coming. So, they say that to be successful as a comic, you should let the audience know a little bit about yourself, so I guess I'll start there. You see, multiple times in my life, I've heard the phrase, Shawn, you are one of the greatest living threats to American capitalism. Not because of my political views. I've just really sucked at each and every job I've ever had. I'm an atheist, but I'm very good friends with a priest for insurance. Let's tell you a little bit about my personal life. These days I'm actually involved in a non-monogamous relationship. I'm single. So I've never been too crazy about dating, because to me, dating is like a really weird form of gambling that occasionally ends in an orgasm. Now, the last girl I was involved with was this girl, Abigail. Well, interesting. She was a science major, but she was also really into the kinky lifestyle, the BDSM lifestyle, and, you know, I still miss my little physicist. The first time I'm, hanging out with her, she's explaining me all of her lifestyle. She's just like, this is what BDSM is like, and these are all these things, and when it becomes clear that I really don't know anything about what's going on, she goes, Shawn, you're so vanilla. And I'm like, hey, just because I'm white, there's no reason to call me a mean name. So, as a comedian, you're always, I'm recording this, I'm always trying to put videos up and get people really interested. And, for me, it's like 50 views blows my mind that I can get 50 people to look at one of my videos on YouTube. But every now and then you'll see some comedian who has no exposure, no TV deal, but has 50,000 hits. And the one I saw recently was a woman who had 50,000 hits, and she only has 2 videos. And the reason is because this woman was a former porn star, and at the beginning of each of her videos, it says porn star comedian right in the headline. So I think I'm going to respond to that. So from now on, I'm going to be known as Shawn Barron, BMW, blowjob, cocaine comedian. When I'm trying to get attention of my friends to get them to watch my videos, I'm always sending in one of my friends. I sent her this video the other day, and she got mad because I sent her like 2 videos that week, and she was just like, hey, I have a serious life. I can't really stand on Facebook. You're always sending me all these videos, and your weird comedy, and I'm just, look, I lead a real life, and if you want to send me once in a while, but I can't take it all the time. Here's the thing. My friend's job, Nicole, she works as a lobbyist in D.C. to help get pot legalized. So basically, this is a woman who wants to make it easier for all of America, and possibly all of the world, to get high, who's worried that I'm being too weird and silly. And I can see her point, because as someone who likes marijuana, I'm really tired of marijuana or other drugs like cocaine, or mushrooms, or ecstasy, or LSD, or crystal meth, ever being associated with anything weird or funny. As we all know, this has been a long struggle of drug users to disassociate themselves with comedy, and I'm sorry that I worked against that whole intention. So I think rebranding can help a lot of groups that have a bad reputation. If somebody, a group or an idea that's looked upon poorly, if you can get a new association with it, somehow you can help, rehabilitate this whole concept in the eyes of other people. So starting next week, I'm going to begin selling a brand of Band-Aids called the Gaza Strip. Like I said before, I'm an atheist, but I have had some experiences of kind of, made me question everything I had thought about. There was a cousin of mine, and he actually has had every single one of his prayers granted his whole life. You see, every Sunday morning, he gets up early, dresses up really nice, goes to church, gets down on his knees, and he goes, "Dear God, please let tomorrow be Monday." But you see, I like drinking a little bit, I like alcohol, but I do have some members of my family who have had problems with alcohol. I had an uncle who had a really long-term problem with alcohol abuse. He used to like to burn down liquor stores. Fortunately, though, he was able to beat the charges because he had a lawyer who was Machiavellian in his planning. This lawyer wasn't particularly cunning or devious, but he did write all of his plans out in Italian. But I think, reading is important. It's good to sometimes read books about things that you don't really understand or don't really know that much about. And I recently read a book on psychic phenomena. It's titled, I Wrote What You're Thinking. And while I was reading this book, I actually came to discover that I myself am in possession of special mental psychic powers. You see, I just have to think really hard about someone I don't like, and within 60 to 80 years, they're dead. You know, folks, some days you wake up, it's a pretty good way to describe narcolepsy. Okay, so this is, I guess, a question for you all. What is the difference between Iran and Germany? Well, you see, in Iran, you can be taken off the streets, handcuffed, blindfolded, taken to an isolated location, and beaten severely for no real reason. While in Germany, you gotta pay about 100 euros an hour for that sort of treatment. If you die in your sleep, but it's while you're having a dream of your own birth, does it still count? But yeah, I'm glad it's, the weather's finally warming up. We had, the spring was a little weird, so it made a lot of the animals behave in ways that they hadn't before. Right here in New Jersey, I don't know if you know, we actually had to launch a bear patrol. But it was an incredible success because over 50 bearded gay men were able to find jobs as security guards. I said, I like to travel a little bit. I have a really good friend of mine who lives in Stockholm, the capital of Sweden. Now, if you've never been to Sweden, it's kind of interesting. It's very old and it's very historic, and it's all a lot of very quiet, very intense intellectuals who aren't the best at expressing emotions. And for me, that's paradise. But what's really interesting is the Swedes actually have some of the words in their language specifically reflect that you shouldn't be that interesting. There's a great Swedish word, lagom. Lagom. And this word means just the right amount. But it's implying that if you gave something that was really good, that would be bad. I'll give you an example. We're in a restaurant in Stockholm. Sven Thor Olofsson is there, enjoying his soup. He's eating some soup. Waiter! Waiter! I need you to come over here. Waiter, you have brought me a soup. That is refreshing and delicious. It warms my body and relieves my spirits. It takes me to times previously in my life when I experienced the joys of love and childhood. And this is not acceptable. Today is Tuesday. Tuesday is the day when I contemplate on the futility of all human endeavor. And you have brought me a soup that destroys that ability. Please remove this and bring back a soup that is lagom. It's not just words. I don't know that much Swedish, but I actually speak Spanish. And there's, in all languages, like words and phrases and idioms that just don't make any sense when they're translated. I'll give you an example. Dutch is the weirdest language because they ran out of words. An apple core in Dutch is called a klokhuis, a clock house. Like, literally those two words put together. There's no reason. And I've asked friends who are Dutch experts, they cannot find a reason. They call gloves hand shoes in that country. Which also, like I said, lots of idioms. And probably one of my favorite idioms that they have in the world is a Spanish idiom. And, you know, in America we have lots of expressions for how you should raise children, you know. It takes a village to raise a child. So it's like, oh, we're all contributed to the youth. In Spain, this is what they say. Cría cuervos y te sacarán los ojos. Raise ravens and they will rip out your eyes. What the hell is wrong with kids in Spain? It's like a lot of them come here, it's like, man, don't you want to discipline Pablo? Fuck no, his father's from Madrid. We're just going to let it go. But yeah, I guess one last story about Spain. When I was first there, I didn't know a lot of the bad words in the language. I just knew like a lot of the traditional stuff I had learned in school. So a little beer in Madrid, they like these things called a caña. It's like a half pint. Caña. But it was a word that I hadn't learned in school, so I wasn't that good at pronouncing it. So about 3 times till a friend corrected me, I went up to bartenders and said, "Hola, me gustaría 3 coños, por favor." For those of you who didn't pass high school Spanish, I went up to a bartender and said, "Hello, I'd like 3 pussies, please." The guy's just like, "Me too, amigo, but we only have beer here." Well, thank you very much for your time.